The trade station of Orth floated in silence above the cold blue world below. Its vast rings turned slowly, glittering with the light of nearby suns. On the busiest level, 1,000 voices mixed into one restless hum. Traders, merchants, guards, and wanderers crossed paths in a constant river of life. Among them walked a human named Aaron. He was not famous, nor a soldier, nor even a great merchant. He was simply a traveler with a backpack and tired boots. He had come from Earth through long months of ship work, taking small jobs on freighters until he reached Orth. Humans were still rare in these parts of the galaxy. Most travelers only knew them through scattered stories, usually told with doubt. Aaron noticed the way other species watched him. Their eyes lingered longer than usual. Some whispered as he passed. He had learned not to take offense. Humans were still a mystery to many, and curiosity often felt like suspicion. He kept his steps steady, breathing in the sharp, metallic air of the station. On the far side of the marketplace, a young alien girl named Sarah stood with her guardian. Sarah's people, the Viori, were tall and slender with pale skin that glimmered faintly under the lights. They were known for their calm minds and strict discipline of emotion. The Viori prided themselves on control, believing feelings should never rule reason. Sarah had been raised under that teaching since childhood. But as she noticed the human step into the marketplace, something unusual stirred in her chest. She did not understand it at first. Her vision sharpened, her heartbeat quickened, and the sounds of the crowd faded behind a strange clarity. The air carried a faint trace she had never smelled before, like warmth wrapped in wood and rain. Her guardian spoke, but she did not hear the words. Her eyes stayed on Aaron. Every movement he made seemed to pull her attention. She felt restless, as if something inside her was urging her to step closer. It was not fear. It was not anger. It was something unspoken that her kind did not even have a name for. Aaron, unaware of the effect he had caused, moved toward a stall that sold travel gear. The vendor, a scaled creature with long arms, greeted him politely but kept sneaking glances at Sarah. The alien girl had taken a small step away from her guardian, her pale eyes wide as she stared. Aaron turned slightly and their gazes met. For an instant, it felt as if the entire station had gone silent. Aaron felt the hair on his arms rise. He could not explain why. He had seen many aliens before, some strange and some frightening, but this one was simply staring at him as if he had unlocked something hidden in her. Sarah quickly lowered her eyes, but the strange rush inside her did not fade. Instead, it grew stronger. Her guardian noticed the shift in her breathing. The Viori rarely lost composure, but Sarah's cheeks carried a faint glow, a mark of unsettled emotion. "Stay close," her guardian whispered with concern. "Do not let your focus break." Sarah nodded, but she could not resist glancing back at Aaron. Aaron purchased a small device from the vendor, then walked away. He should have felt relief at leaving the crowded marketplace, but the memory of the alien girl's gaze stayed in his thoughts. Something in her eyes had not been ordinary curiosity. It had been intense, almost like recognition. He wondered if she had mistaken him for someone else. Humans were still few, but perhaps she had seen another and thought of that. Still, the look in her eyes unsettled him in a way he could not explain. Later, in the quieter levels of the station, Sarah sat in silence while her guardian spoke with other Viori. She kept her hands folded, but her mind refused to calm. The human's presence had stirred something her people rarely experienced. Among the Viori, emotions were carefully measured and often hidden, yet she could not suppress what she had felt. It had been like a storm breaking through a wall of still water. She whispered to herself, "Why does his kind affect me so?" Her voice trembled with both fear and wonder. The elder Viori nearby noticed her distracted state. They exchanged looks of unease. One of them muttered softly, "It is beginning." Just as the ancient texts warned. Sarah's guardian turned sharply. "What do you mean?" The elder's eyes narrowed. The humans are different. They were spoken of long ago, when our ancestors first mapped the stars. There are records that tell of their presence stirring our kind in ways we do not wish to admit. It is said their scent, their presence, even their voices can disrupt the balance of Viore mind. Sura's guardian frowned. That is myth. Nothing more. But Sura knew it was not myth. She had felt it. She could not deny what had happened inside her the moment the human stepped into her view. Far across the station, Aaron rested in a small rented room. He leaned back against the wall and closed his eyes, trying to shake off the odd feeling. He told himself it was nothing, that the girl had only stared because he was a rare sight here. Yet some instinct whispered that this was only the beginning. Outside his door, voices of traders echoed faintly, but Aaron felt that something larger had begun to stir. And somewhere else on Orth Station, Sura felt the same. She could not explain it, yet she knew her life had just shifted onto a path she had never imagined. The human had awakened something her people had long tried to bury. The corridors of Orth Station stretched like veins of light and shadow. Metal walls hummed with energy, carrying the pulse of machines that kept thousands alive in orbit. Humans often found such stations cold and lifeless, but Aaron felt differently. For him, every sound and vibration was proof of life moving together, even if in silence. After settling in his small room, he left again to explore. He wanted to understand more about this part of the galaxy. His eyes searched every sign, every symbol glowing on the walls. Though tired, he carried himself with steady calm. His mind kept returning to the alien girl from the marketplace. He could still picture her pale face, her wide eyes, and that strange expression she wore. It had not been fear. It had not been anger. It had been something else, something he could not put into words. Meanwhile, Sura walked quietly behind her guardian through the upper levels of the station. The elder Viore's words echoed in her thoughts. They had spoken of humans with a kind of unease, as if humans carried a danger hidden in their very presence. She had wanted to ask more questions, but fear of sounding weak kept her silent. Her guardian noticed her silence. "You are unsettled," he said softly. "I am fine," she replied quickly, though her voice betrayed her. "You are not. You felt something when you saw the human." "I could see it." Sura lowered her eyes. "I cannot explain it. It was like a fire inside. It has not left me." Her guardian slowed his steps. "Be careful, Sura. Our kind values balance. What you feel may seem new, but it can lead to storms inside your mind. Humans are strange. Do not let them break your peace." She nodded, though the words did not comfort her. She could not erase what she felt. The human had awakened something alive within her, and denying it only made the sensation stronger. Later that day, Sura found herself standing at a tall window overlooking the planet below. Ortha's blue surface glowed faintly in the light of its star. She pressed her hand against the glass, trying to calm the weight in her chest. But her thoughts returned again and again to the human. She wondered where he was now. Was he thinking of her as she was of him? Aaron, by chance, passed through the same level. He had come to find food and water, guided by the glowing maps on the walls. His steps slowed when he noticed her standing by the great window. For a moment, he considered walking past, but something in him resisted. His feet carried him closer. Sura felt him before she saw him. It was as if the air itself shifted when he entered the hall. She turned her head slightly, and her eyes met his once more. The strange fire surged stronger than before. Aaron gave a small nod, unsure if approaching her would cause trouble. He remembered the way her guardian had looked protective in the marketplace. Still, silence felt heavier than words. "The view is something, isn't it?" he said gently. Sura blinked, surprised by the sound of his voice. The language device in her ear translated the human's words smoothly, yet the tone of his voice carried warmth the machine could not hide. She nodded slowly. "It is beautiful," she whispered. For several moments they stood side by side, gazing at the planet below. Aaron sensed she was nervous, but he also felt she was not afraid of him. That was unusual. Most aliens kept distance from him. This one seemed pulled closer against her own will. "I have not seen many of your kind before," Aaron said, keeping his voice respectful. "I am Aaron, from Earth." Her lips parted slightly at his name. "I am Sarah," she replied, her voice soft but clear. The simple exchange of names carried weight neither of them understood. Sarah felt her heart pound faster. The fire in her chest spread, yet it did not hurt. It felt alive, restless, unstoppable. Her guardian's voice suddenly echoed from behind. "Sarah. Step away." Aaron straightened, realizing he might have crossed a line. The guardian approached with measured steps, his tall frame casting a shadow between them. His eyes locked on Aaron with quiet warning. "I meant no harm," Aaron said calmly, raising his hand slightly to show peace. The guardian studied him for a long moment. "Humans bring disturbance. You should know our kind values order. Whatever strange effect you carry, leave it behind." Aaron frowned. "I do not understand. I am only passing through." The guardian did not answer. Instead, he took Sarah's arm gently and guided her away. She looked back once, her pale eyes holding Aaron's until distance pulled them apart. That night, Sarah lay in her chamber, restless. She tried meditation, as she had been taught, but the human's face would not leave her thoughts. She whispered his name to herself as if saying it would calm the storm. Instead, it only grew. In his small rented room, Aaron thought of her too. He had seen many kinds of aliens, yet none had ever looked at him that way. He wondered if the stories told by the Viore elders were true. Could it be that humans carried something that stirred others without meaning to? If so, what did that mean for the future? On the edges of the station, the elders gathered in quiet chambers. They spoke of the humans' arrival with concern. One said, "It begins again. The records warned us. The humans will bring change to us, whether we wish it or not." Another replied, "We must be careful. If our young ones are drawn to them, our order will collapse." But a third elder, older than the rest, spoke differently. "Perhaps this is not danger. Perhaps it is destiny. The last time humans crossed our path, the stars themselves shifted. We cannot ignore the signs." And so, while Aaron slept and Sarah dreamed, unseen voices debated their fates. The meeting of a single human and a single Viore girl had awakened old fears and older hopes. Neither Aaron nor Sarah knew yet that their bond was only the beginning of something far larger than both of them. The artificial night cycle began on Orth Station. Lights dimmed, the great ring slowed, and the constant voice of the marketplace softened to a hushed murmur. Yet for many, rest did not come. The Viore elders remained in their council chambers, speaking in low voices about the human who had arrived. Elder Tavan, the eldest among them, leaned heavily on his staff as he spoke. "Long ago our ancestors warned us. The presence of humans stirs parts of us we cannot control. Emotions grow wild. Calm turns to fire. If we ignore this, our order may shatter." Another elder, male, folded his hands. "And yet, perhaps control is not all that matters. Have we not lived too long behind walls of silence? Perhaps the human's arrival is a chance to learn what we have forgotten." The chamber filled with tension. Some elders agreed, while others shook their heads. In the end, they chose caution. A message would be sent to the station's governor. The human would be watched closely, though not openly. If his presence threatened their way of life, he would be removed. Far from the council chambers, Sarah lay awake in her quiet quarters. The walls glowed faintly with calming light, designed to ease the mind, but her thoughts refused to settle. She remembered Aaron's voice, the warmth it carried even through the cold translation device. She remembered his eyes, steady and open, unlike the guarded gaze of most Viuri. Her guardian's warning replayed in her memory. Humans bring disturbance. Yet Sara did not feel disturbed. She felt alive. For the first time in her life, her heart beat faster for something she could not name. She whispered into the silence, "Why him? Why now?" On the other side of the station, Aaron also found sleep difficult. He sat on the edge of his narrow bed, staring at the floor. He had not come to Orth seeking trouble. All he wanted was passage further along the trade routes, maybe work on a ship, maybe a chance to see more of the galaxy. Yet the image of the alien girl remained clear in his mind. Her gaze had struck him with a force that made no sense. He rubbed his temples and muttered, "She looked at me like I was, more than just another traveler." Aaron sighed. He knew little about the Viuri beyond what he had read in scattered records. They valued calm, order, and control of emotion. To them, human behavior must seem chaotic, even reckless. And yet, he had seen something break through her calm when their eyes met. That was not nothing. The next day, fate drew them together again. Aaron returned to the marketplace to buy food. He moved quietly, trying not to attract attention, but whispers followed him wherever he went. Traders stared, guards kept their distance, and curious eyes watched his every move. Sara had come with her guardian to the same marketplace, tasked with learning trade customs. She walked with lowered eyes, repeating her guardian's lessons in her mind, but the moment she sensed the familiar warmth in the air, she froze. She turned her head, and there he was. Aaron noticed her almost at once. Their eyes met again across the busy hall. It was like a silent current pulled them together. Sara's guardian stiffened. His voice hardened. "Sara, keep your focus. Do not look at him." But she could not obey. Her steps moved before her thoughts. She crossed the space between them, her pale face carrying both fear and determination. Aaron's eyebrows rose. He had not expected her to approach. "Hello again," he said, his voice steady. Sara glanced back at her guardian, who watched with sharp disapproval, but she turned back to Aaron. "You are Aaron, from Earth," she said, repeating his name slowly as if it held weight. "Yes," he answered. "And you are Sara?" She nodded. For a moment they simply stood, the noise of the marketplace fading around them. Neither knew what words to add, but both felt the pull of something larger than themselves. Her guardian stepped forward, breaking the fragile stillness. "Enough. Sara, return to your place." Sara lowered her head but did not move. Aaron sensed the conflict in her. He spoke gently, not wishing to make things worse. "I mean no harm to her. I only wish to speak." The guardian's eyes narrowed. "Words lead to bonds. Bonds lead to chaos. You do not understand our kind." Aaron held his ground. "Maybe not. But I think your kind does not understand mine either. Where I come from, bonds are what keep us alive." The guardian's face hardened, but before he could reply, a sudden noise shook the marketplace. A loud alarm echoed through the halls. Traders shouted, guards rushed past, and lights flashed red along the ceiling. An announcement rang out. "Attention! Power failure detected on Ring 3. Structural stability uncertain. Please move to secure zones immediately." The marketplace erupted in panic. Crowds surged, pushing toward exits. Aaron quickly looked to Sara. She seemed startled, frozen in place. Her guardian grabbed her arm, but the press of the crowd separated them. Aaron saw her stumble as strangers pushed past. Without thinking, he reached out and pulled her toward him, shielding her from the chaos. Sara gasped, surprised by his sudden touch, but the fire inside her grew stronger. She looked up at him, eyes wide. "Stay close," Aaron said firmly. The two of them moved together through the rushing crowd. Aaron used his strength to keep a clear path, guiding Sarah toward a safer corridor. The alarm continued to blare, and the floor trembled under their feet as the great rings groaned. At last they reached a quieter passage. Sarah's chest rose and fell quickly, her eyes bright with both fear and something else she did not fully understand. Aaron released her gently, making sure she was steady. "Are you all right?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "Yes. You did not let go." Aaron gave a small smile. "I told you. Where I come from, bonds matter." For a moment, they stood in silence, the chaos of the marketplace fading behind them. Sarah realized she felt safer with him than she had ever felt before, even under her guardian's watch. It confused her, yet she could not deny it. Far away, the elders received reports of the disturbance. When they learned that the human had protected one of their own during the crisis, their debates grew even sharper. Some said it was proof that humans were dangerous. Others claimed it showed their strength of spirit. Orth Station slowly returned to order after the power failure. Engineers in gray uniforms moved through the damaged ring, repairing what had been broken. Guards calmed the restless crowds, and the red warning lights faded back to soft white. Life resumed, but whispers of the event spread quickly. Some believed it had been an accident. Others murmured it was sabotage by rivals seeking to weaken the station's trade routes. For Aaron, the alarm was less important than the memory of what had happened during it. He had seen Sarah separated from her guardian and nearly lost in the chaos. Without hesitation, he had reached for her and held her close until the danger passed. It was not something he thought about. It was instinct, the same instinct that told him to protect those around him. Now, back in his small room, he sat on the edge of his bed replaying the moment in his mind. Her eyes had met his, not with fear but with trust. Trust was rare for him in these distant parts of the galaxy. Most looked at him with suspicion. But she had not. Across the station, Sarah sat quietly in her guardian's quarters. He paced the room with heavy steps, anger and worry mixing in his voice. "You let him touch you. You let him stay at your side. Do you not see the danger, Sarah?" She lowered her eyes but spoke softly. "He did not harm me. He protected me. When the crowd pushed, he did not leave me behind." "That is how humans are," her guardian replied sharply. "They act with sudden impulse. They rush forward without thinking of balance. You may see courage, but I see recklessness. And recklessness destroys order." Sarah looked up, her pale eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "But is order more important than life? Without him, I might have been crushed. I might have been lost." Her guardian paused, his expression tightening. He could not deny her words, yet his voice remained stern. "You must not grow attached. The elders are already watching him. If they believe his presence is too dangerous, they will act. Do not place yourself in their path." Sarah nodded outwardly, but inside her heart refused the warning. She could not forget the warmth of the human's hand or the strength in his voice when he told her to stay close. It was more than safety. It was a feeling of belonging she had never known before. In the council chambers, the elders met again. Reports of the power failure were spread before them. Some claimed the human had caused it, though no proof existed. Others insisted the human had risked his own safety to protect one of their kind. Elder Tavan spoke firmly. "Do not be blinded. The ancient texts warned of this. Humans disturb the balance within us. This girl is already showing signs. If we allow it to continue, more of our young will follow." Elder Male shook his head. "And if the texts were not warnings but lessons? Perhaps humans are not danger, but change. Perhaps change is what we need." The debate continued late into the night, but no decision was reached. The only agreement was simple. The human would be watched more closely. Aaron felt the eyes long before he saw them. As he walked the station corridors, he sensed the guards lingering longer than before. Traders hushed their voices when he passed. Even machines seemed to hum louder in the silence that followed him. He thought to himself, they know. They are watching me now. Yet he did not hide. He walked openly, carrying himself with quiet strength. He had nothing to conceal, nothing to be ashamed of. But he knew he must be careful. Later, while visiting a quiet observation deck, he found Sarah waiting. She stood near the great glass wall, her figure outlined by the light of the stars. At first he thought it was coincidence, but the way she turned to him with expectation in her eyes told him otherwise. "You came," she whispered. Aaron nodded. "I needed to see the stars. And perhaps, to see you." Her lips curved faintly, though her voice carried a tremor. "The elders speak of you. They say you bring disturbance. They say you are danger." Aaron stepped closer, his eyes steady. "And what do you say?" She looked down at her hands, struggling with the fire in her chest. "I do not feel danger. I feel," she hesitated, searching for words. "I feel as if you are a light I did not know existed. It frightens me because I cannot control it." Aaron's voice softened. "Where I come from, we believe not everything must be controlled. Some things are meant to be felt." Her breath caught at his words. For the Viuri, feelings were storms to be hidden, but this human spoke of them as treasures. It was a way of life she had never imagined. Before either could say more, movement stirred in the shadows. Guards stepped into the deck, their tall forms cutting through the silence. Their leader spoke coldly. "Human, your presence here is under review. You will come with us." Aaron did not move at once. He looked to Sarah. Her eyes widened with fear, and she shook her head slightly. He straightened, his voice calm but firm. "I have done nothing wrong." "That is not for you to decide," the guard replied. Two guards stepped forward, ready to take him. Aaron raised his hand slightly to show peace, but his gaze stayed steady. He would not fight unless forced. Sarah could not remain silent. She stepped between them, her voice clear. "He saved me during the power failure. Without him, I would have been lost. If you take him, you take away the one who gave me safety." The guards hesitated, surprised by her defiance. The leader's eyes narrowed. "Your words are noted, but they change nothing. He must face the elders." Aaron looked at Sarah once more. "It's all right," he said quietly. "I'll go with them." Her heart twisted at his calm acceptance. She wanted to shout, to hold him back, but her training in control held her still. The guards led him away, their steps echoing through the deck. Sarah remained alone by the glass wall, her hands trembling. For the first time in her life, she felt powerless. But deep inside, another feeling rose stronger than fear. Determination. She whispered to herself, "I will not let them decide his fate without me." The stars outside burned bright, as if listening. And so the path was set. The human would stand before the elders, and the alien girl would choose whether to obey her people or follow the fire awakened within her. The council chamber of the Viuri was unlike any place Aaron had ever seen. The walls glowed faintly with silver light, and tall crystal pillars rose toward the high ceiling, humming with hidden energy. The elders sat in a wide circle, their robes flowing like liquid shadows. Their faces were calm, but their eyes carried the weight of judgment. Aaron stood in the center of the chamber. His wrists were free, for the Viuri did not use chains. They believed bonds of honor were stronger than iron. But Aaron understood he was not free. The circle of elders and guards around him was as unbreakable as any wall. The eldest among them, Tavan, leaned on his staff and spoke. "Human of Earth. You stand before us not as an enemy but as a question. Our people have long memories. In our records it is written that humans disrupt the balance within us. You cause storms where there should be calm. Already, one of our young has shown signs. Aaron met the elder's gaze. I never meant to cause harm. I came here as a traveler. Nothing more. Elder male, younger than Tavan but with sharp eyes, leaned forward. Yet you saved Sarah during the crisis. That act was not of balance but of instinct. Why did you not think of yourself first? Aaron frowned slightly. Where I come from, we do not survive by standing apart. We survive by standing together. In danger, you protect those beside you. That is our way. The elders murmured among themselves. Some nodded with interest, others shook their heads in disapproval. Tavan raised his hand, and silence returned. Your words show the heart of your kind. But our way is different. To us, calm is strength. Emotion is weakness. If your presence awakens storms in our young, what are we to do? Aaron drew a slow breath. He did not raise his voice, but his words carried weight. Maybe storms are not always weakness. Sometimes storms bring change. Sometimes they clear the sky. A ripple of unease moved through the elders. Such words were close to defiance of their ancient teaching. At the edge of the chamber, Sarah stood beside her guardian. She had insisted on being present, though her guardian had argued. Her eyes stayed fixed on Aaron, her hands clenched at her sides. Every word he spoke struck her deeper. She knew the elders saw him as danger, but to her he was something else entirely. The trial continued. Elder male turned to Sarah. Step forward, child. Tell us truly what you felt when the human touched you. The room grew tense. Sarah's heart pounded. She knew her answer could change Aaron's fate. Her guardian gave her a warning glance, urging her to repeat the teachings of balance. But when she stepped into the circle, she lifted her head with quiet strength. When the alarm sounded, the crowd was strong. I was lost. My guardian could not reach me. The human did. He held me safe. I felt no danger in him. I felt alive. Gasps echoed in the chamber. Such words were rarely spoken among the Vyuri. Elders shifted in their seats, their calm broken by whispers. Her guardian stepped forward quickly, his voice firm. She is young. Her mind is clouded. Do not let her words weigh too heavily. But Sarah shook her head. No. My mind is clear. You teach us that balance is all, that calm is strength. Yet in that moment, I learned something different. Life is not only calm. Life is fire too. The human did not bring danger to me. He brought light. Her words rang through the chamber. Even the glowing walls seemed to tremble with them. Aaron felt a rush of respect for her courage. He had not expected her to speak so boldly before her elders. Tavan rose slowly, his voice grave. You see. Already our youth speak of fire instead of calm. Already the human has changed her. This is the danger our ancestors warned of. If one human can stir such storms, what will happen if more come? The circle of elders fell into heated debate. Some called for Aaron's removal from the station. Others argued that to cast him out would be to act in fear, not wisdom. Voices rose, robes shifted, and the ancient chamber shook with division unseen in generations. During the debate, Aaron stood silent, his eyes fixed on Sarah. She looked back at him, her expression both fearful and determined. They had spoken only a few words together, yet already they shared a bond strong enough to defy tradition. At last, Elder Tavan struck his staff against the floor. The sound echoed like thunder. Enough. We will not decide in haste. The human will remain under watch until we reach judgment. He may walk the station, but guards will follow. And the girl will return to her studies, away from him. If either breaks these terms, Punishment will follow. The guards moved to escort Eren out. Sarah tried to step closer, but her guardian held her arm. She whispered under her breath, "This is not the end." Later, Eren was returned to his room. The guards remained outside his door, silent shadows in the corridor. He sat on the bed, leaning forward with his hands clasped. He felt no shame, only a heavy question pressing on his mind. Why do they fear us so deeply? What is it about humans that stirs them? Across the station, Sarah sat in her chamber, her thoughts restless. Her guardian scolded her for speaking against tradition, but she hardly heard his words. She thought only of Eren's calm voice and the way he had stood unshaken before the circle of elders. He had faced them without fear, something few of her people could do. In the hidden chambers, the elders continued their debate long into the night. Some feared Eren would be the beginning of a storm that could not be stopped. Others whispered that perhaps the storm was needed. Elder Male, when the others had gone, stood alone by the silver wall. He spoke softly to himself. The last time humans walked among us, the galaxy changed. Perhaps it is time it changes again. The days that followed felt like walking inside a cage. Eren was allowed to move through Orth Station, but wherever he went, guards trailed behind him. They did not speak, but their presence was loud enough. Traders who once watched him with curiosity now avoided him entirely. Some whispered that he was dangerous. Others said the elders feared him. Eren tried to ignore the eyes, but the weight pressed on him. He walked the long corridors, studied the shining rings, and sat quietly in the food hall, always with shadows behind him. The galaxy was wide, yet here he was trapped in a circle of suspicion. Still, his thoughts were not of himself. They were of Sarah. He had not seen her since the trial. The memory of her standing against her own elders gave him strength. He wondered if she was safe, if her people were punishing her for what she had said. He wished he could speak with her again, even for a moment. Sarah's days were no easier. Her guardian kept her under strict watch, insisting she return to meditation and studies. But her mind would not quiet. Each time she closed her eyes, she saw Eren's face, his steady gaze, and the calm way he had spoken before the elders. Her heart burned with questions she could not silence. Late one evening, when her guardian rested, Sarah slipped quietly from her chamber. She moved through the dim halls with careful steps, her long robe brushing against the floor. Her path led her toward the sector where Eren was kept under guard. At the same time, Eren sat in his room staring at the ceiling. He felt restless, like a storm building inside him. When a soft knock touched his door, he rose quickly. The guard outside turned, surprised to see Sarah approaching. "You are not permitted here," the guard said firmly. Sarah lifted her chin, her voice steady. "I wish to speak with him." "That is not allowed." For a moment, silence hung heavy. Then Sarah spoke again, her voice carrying the weight of command learned from her elders. "I will take responsibility for my actions. Let me pass." The guard hesitated. The authority in her tone was unusual for one so young. Finally, after a long pause, he stepped aside. The door slid open, and Sarah entered. Eren's eyes widened with surprise, then softened with relief. "You came," he said quietly. "I could not stay away," she answered. "They say you are danger, but I do not believe it. I had to see you, to hear your voice again." Eren stepped closer. "They will punish you if they learn you disobeyed." Her pale eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. "Then let them. I cannot live only in silence anymore. When I am near you, the silence breaks, and I feel alive." For a long moment, they simply looked at one another. Words felt too small for the bond between them. Before more could be said, the station shuddered. A deep tremor rolled through the floor, making the walls hum and the lights flicker. Alarms blared again, louder than before. Aaron's expression sharpened. That is no power failure. The guard outside shouted for orders, rushing down the corridor. Sarah turned to Aaron with fear in her eyes. What is happening? A voice echoed through the speakers above. Warning. Outer defenses breached. Unknown ships entering system. All citizens move to secure shelters. The words struck the station like thunder. Panic spread through the halls. Aaron grabbed a small pack from his bed and slung it over his shoulder. He looked at Sarah. We cannot stay here. Come with me. She hesitated only a heartbeat before nodding. Together they slipped into the corridor, joining the stream of frightened citizens. The guards were too busy directing the crowd to notice her disobedience. As they moved, Aaron's mind worked quickly. Unknown ships meant raiders or worse. He had seen such attacks before on the edges of human space. If the station's defenses had already been breached, the danger was great. Sarah clung close beside him, her steps fast to match his. Around them, alarms screamed and voices rose in panic. Families rushed through the corridors, clutching children and bags of belongings. The station, once a place of order, had become a river of fear. At a junction, Aaron stopped and pulled Sarah into a side passage. We cannot follow the crowd, he said. Shelters may not be safe if the raiders break through. We need another path. Sarah looked at him with trust, though her hands trembled. Where do we go? Aaron thought quickly. The docking bays. If the station falls, ships will be the only way out. They moved through quieter passages, avoiding the main flow of citizens. The tremors grew stronger. Distant booms echoed through the metal walls, signs of weapons striking the station's shields. At one turn, they nearly collided with a patrol of guards. The leader recognized Sarah at once. You should be with your guardian. What are you doing here? Sarah stood tall. I will not return. I stay with him. She gestured to Aaron. The guards looked uncertain. One started to protest, but another boom shook the corridor, making the lights flicker. In that moment of distraction, Aaron pulled Sarah forward, and together they slipped past the patrol. They reached the docking sector just as chaos erupted. Ships were preparing for launch, traders shouting, families begging for passage. The air was thick with smoke and the hiss of machines. Aaron scanned the rows of vessels, searching for one they could reach. There, he pointed, spotting a small cargo ship with its ramp still open. They rushed toward it, weaving through the frantic crowd. But before they could reach it, a blast struck the station close by. The floor buckled, and fire tore through the far wall. People screamed as smoke filled the bay. Aaron grabbed Sarah's hand and pulled her behind a stack of containers for cover. The station groaned under the impact, metal screeching. Sarah clung to him, eyes wide with terror. Aaron looked at her, his voice steady despite the chaos. Stay close. Whatever happens, we face it together. In that moment, Sarah felt the fire inside her surge higher than ever. Fear and trust burned as one. For the first time, she realized the elders were wrong. This was not weakness. This was strength, a strength born not from silence but from connection. As smoke filled the bay and the echoes of battle grew closer, Aaron and Sarah prepared to step into a fight that neither had chosen but both would face side by side. The docking bay shook with the sound of explosions. Alarms wailed, smoke poured from broken walls, and the air filled with the shouts of frightened citizens. Aaron pulled Sarah behind the containers as another blast sent fire across the metal floor. We cannot stay here, Aaron said firmly. The raiders will break through soon. Sarah coughed from the smoke, her pale face streaked with dust. Where can we go? The ships are leaving. We will be left behind. Aaron's eyes scanned the chaos. Most of the larger vessels had already launched, leaving only smaller cargo ships. Guards were trying to direct civilians, but panic drowned order. Then he saw an old shuttle at the far edge of the bay, its engines still warming. It looked worn but flight-worthy. There, Aaron pointed. If we can reach it, we might get out. Sura nodded, trusting his judgment. Together they sprinted across the bay, ducking low as another blast shook the station. Debris rained down, but Aaron shielded her with his body, forcing a path forward. When they reached the shuttle, a frantic trader blocked the ramp. "This ship is mine," he shouted. "There is no room for more." Aaron stepped forward, his voice hard. "Then you fly with us or not at all." "She comes with me." The trader hesitated, but another explosion split the air, and fear drove him aside. Aaron pulled Sura onto the ramp, and together they climbed into the shuttle. Inside, the controls flickered with old lights. Aaron sat in the pilot's chair, scanning the unfamiliar layout. He had flown human ships, but this was Vuri design. The symbols were different, the systems strange. Still, flight was flight. He tightened his grip on the controls. "Hold on," he said, powering the engines. The shuttle rose unsteadily from the floor, its frame trembling. Outside, raider ships swarmed like shadows, firing on the station's defenses. Aaron pushed the throttle, guiding the shuttle through the smoke-filled bay and out into the starfield beyond. For a moment, the view stole even his breath. Dozens of raider vessels circled the station, their dark hulls flashing with fire. Orth Station's defense turrets answered with streams of light, but the battle was uneven. The raiders were too many. Sura gripped the seat beside him, her voice trembling. "They will destroy everything. My people, my home." Aaron's jaw tightened. "Not if we can help it." He steered the shuttle away from the worst of the fighting, weaving between burning debris. But soon, two raider ships locked onto them, their engines burning red as they gave chase. "They are coming," Sura whispered. Aaron adjusted the controls, heart pounding but focus sharp. "Then we lose them." The shuttle darted between wreckage, engines straining. Energy blasts streaked past, shaking the hull. Sura gasped each time, but Aaron's hands were steady. He guided the old vessel through narrow gaps, pushing it harder than it was built for. At last, one of the raiders clipped a piece of debris and spun away in fire. But the second ship stayed on them, relentless. Aaron cursed under his breath. "We cannot outrun it." Sura closed her eyes, reaching for the console. Her people were raised in discipline, but now she let instinct guide her. Her fingers danced across the symbols, activating systems Aaron had not touched. A hidden panel opened, revealing a small defense turret linked to the shuttle's frame. "Here," she said. "I will guide the weapon. You fly." Aaron nodded quickly. Together they worked as one, he pulling the shuttle into sharp turns, she aiming the turret with surprising precision. When the raider drew close, Sura fired. Bright energy lanced through the dark, striking the raider's wing. The ship spun, tried to recover, then burst into flames. She gasped, staring at the wreckage. I did it." Aaron gave a fierce smile. "You saved us." For a brief moment, victory warmed them. But outside, the larger battle raged on. The station's shields flickered, growing weaker with every hit. It would not last. Aaron guided the shuttle back toward Orth, determination burning in his eyes. "We cannot run forever. If the station falls, your people are lost. We have to help." Sura looked at him, torn between fear and awe. "One small shuttle cannot turn a battle." "Maybe not," he replied. "But humans believe even one act can change everything." She met his gaze and nodded. "Then let us act." They flew closer to the station, weaving through the battle. Aaron spotted a weak point. The raiders were targeting the power relays on the station's outer ring. If those relays collapsed, the shields would fall completely. "We need to protect the relays," Aaron said. "If they hold, the station survives long enough to fight. Sura worked the console, linking the shuttle's turret to her control. Together, they dove into the fight. Aaron's flying and Sura's aim struck again and again, driving back smaller raider craft. They were only two against many, yet their unity made them strong. From the council chamber, the elders watched the battle unfold on great projection screens. When they saw the shuttle defending the station with daring moves, recognition spread. Elder male whispered, "That is them. The human and the girl." Elder Tavan's face tightened. "They act without order, without command." Yet, his voice faltered as he saw raider ships fall under their fire. The council sat in silence, watching as the human and the Viori girl fought side by side. What had begun as disturbance now shone as hope. At last, reinforcements from Allied fleets arrived, drawn by the station's distress signal. The raiders, realizing the battle was lost, retreated into the shadows of space. Silence slowly returned, broken only by the groan of damaged metal and the faint hum of surviving shields. Aaron guided the shuttle back to the docking bay, landing it with careful hands. Smoke and fire still marked the station, but it lived. People cheered as the raiders fled. When Aaron and Sura stepped from the shuttle, they were met by guards. But this time, the guards did not come with suspicion. They bowed their heads in respect. The elders arrived soon after, their faces solemn. Tavan looked at the two of them long, then spoke with heavy voice. "You fought for us when you had every reason to leave. You stood together when we doubted you. Perhaps we were wrong to fear. Perhaps balance is not silence alone. Perhaps it is the joining of calm and fire." Sura's guardian lowered his head, ashamed. "I tried to keep her from you, yet she found her strength in you." Aaron placed a steady hand on Sura's shoulder. "Strength does not come from being apart. It comes from standing together." The elders were silent, but the truth was clear. Humanity, strange and reckless as it seemed, carried a gift the Viori had long forgotten: the power of connection, of bonds that gave life meaning. Sura looked at Aaron, her eyes bright. For the first time, she spoke without fear. "This is only the beginning.